Yeah. Oh, not to the left. Oh, someone.
Okay. Good morning to everyone.
Oh, the net dear Karsura. Chosi Bande Adishak, Sungleroa. Send a union, Sheja number monks. Say, Chisam Meshebes. Langbe Chula woman Lembader, Rangin Doba down to Longsha Songua. Teach it your suggest.
No. So as the great Lord Atisha declared, life is short. Many things need to be learned, and we cannot know how long we will live. Therefore, our goals should be pursued, just like the goose who separates milk from water. I prefer actually, just like the swan separates milk from water.
Some to Wakasure. Sedeko, Yeshe doesn't book a Maris on Gora. You don't do Yeshe. Oh, then it said Sedeko, Kazi de Dut and the Omarwako, Namching Yemero. Said the cousin does take the Senyabake Omara. Chisam Meshibet, and the co to Zutila Papa Chirangi. And the Bakan, the Bayanati, so Cheshin Yamsulanko Resera. Oh, then it says that she done Zambuli Sheja Mambu, the Sangmachang Long Yomares, or Petiliat, and Bechula Omalamba, the Rang de Batandolosas. Nobody could shoot the Homatresha, go home at the tomb, shoot the Shasha Visara, or dinner since Rana. Jawachima Penja, Koya, Kesha, Karinatidi, Yamsulan Sungudato.
So then, life is short, and many things. Let's say, and we cannot know how long we will live. The fact is that the time we will die, we don't know at all. So we don't have any idea how long we will live, and relatively speaking, life is very short. So, and there's so much that needs to be learned. Then there's many things that have to be learned in the world, but we have to take what is the essential thing to be learned, and that's the Dharma out of. And so that's like the swan separating the milk from the water.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Kotangarazun Deba Tardu Tarbatam Jekimbaser, Nega Lamikovan was Dira, Negundu Lamikovan to Yangeli, Tardu Tabatam Jekimbatua, the Rang Debara. Oh, the so the Kawachima Neson Majivich Hadami, Govanto Edidan Devasora. Or the Tosan and Javan Kawakuja Tarbatam Jekimbakanga troop to Yora. Or the manning as on the given it, Tarbatam Jekimba troop to Yomara.
So we have certain goals in accordance with the Dharma, and those are having a fortunate rebirth, and then liberation, and then omniscience. But among these, we have to say that the principal one is really to have a fortunate rebirth, because if we don't have a fortunate life in our next lifetime, there's no way for us to attain liberation or omniscience.
Oh, the Kawachima Hadami Kovan Thabkhe and Dangazu Keshidua. Oh, the Induk did and Dakaresene, and this Duakas, Sudim number of Shison Sedua. Nanjukas, Chimbelon, Timgidis, Sanashi, Sudim Mikia Chupangbe, Shalet Sawa Pangbe, and Miki Chubung Sudim de Shison. Oh, Tene, Mulam Chaman, some Charsedua, and it Kawachima, Tambe Yusage, Tawajet and Juju Tanging, Sanjay Tembe Yusage, Miluchik. Tobashos and Malam Jap, Malam Timanda, some Charsigua. Oh, yeah. Chinso Paru to Chimbe Troches. Chimba Sudim Sevala Sobak, any Troche, any Tesul Sangures and Gudua. While it is left.
So, having this fortunate rebirth as either a human or a deity in our next lifetime is most important. Then what are the causes of that? How can we bring that about? We have to have first of all, a good foundation of ethical discipline, where we're abstaining from the 10 non-virtuous deeds and cultivating the 10 virtuous deeds. Then, based on that, then we have to assist that with the practice of the 6 perfections. And then we have to join this life with the next life. As we make that transition, we have to have a clear aspiration, make a clear aspirational prayer to have to be reborn into a fortunate rebirth in our next lifetime. For the
Oh yeah. Chinso paru chimbe troa cheside ko churim dede dan roarwa. Churim che paru chimbe trugna ne churim de shi songni ko ban togora. Ale chimba tangore shara. Chimba tang karsne kyawa chimba de longje ji pungba se ko neme menge kangi kale yunge ji kesona. Chu chubiya da tinde ko gap togu marwa. O de ko gyawachima longzhugi me pongbe chidu chimba tanga shera. Le soba kom gyawachima niwi tongdu zang be karsi gore tong mendu gen tindri mayiba chi kanga ba tong dewa lorchi. Soba ndang den sikdwa. Ane ranyamdo yewe chi midu zo kanga chigi chili sangbu timbu dewa yongya. Soba komne de yongwi sara. Korte su pesum tsokpa chi yongya rwa. Nesirse. Tsundu tsamya dege ko siji chibu yunguri chara. Chinda tsuru suyasunu. Tun samden dege tanda tingi zi kumgi na chi kyawa maung bala ko sem tembu nruya ke tende kyul nruya ra. Nami maungbu menge kbayo sem kasa kan nruya tende mayin bashe. Samden ki shi sikdo nami shiwa. Ani shirab ki tuyas tanda nga zo shirab li changba dege kyawa chima dege ko shirab mida dunga sing tazo shirab chibu yungi. Wada tende zi kiye tenda liya. Ani sendila nga zo wadi tsutim songya molam kyabya chinso paru tu chimba tru di sangwa chiya nyamli chigwa di keshimbari sungdo.
So how are the 6 perfections then? How does it assist our ethical discipline? The ethical discipline is the basis. Then you have generosity, which ensures that we have the resources so that we won't be wanting when in our next lifetime. And then we have patience in order to ensure that we have a pleasing appearance. People will be pleased to see us, or attractive is another way of translating that, and also just that we can get along with those around us. It's another effect of having that practice of patience. Then the effect that we would get out of joyous perseverance or effort then would be to have a kind of charisma, and then the effort, and then the result we get from our meditative stabilization, the 5th one, would be to have not so much your mind would not be so distractible. You'd have a kind of a sense of stability and focus. So then the final perfection then of wisdom would then mean that in our next lifetime we'd be able to absorb and understand the teachings on impermanence and emptiness and so forth. So then it's important that then we have these 6 perfections to well, these 5, it's really the 5, and then we have the ethical discipline is already mentioned separately, and then that these are also well conjoined with that with the aspirational prayer.
Oh yeah, undi indu kasore. So the tanda ngajo ta tarbada tamji chimbe koma tubele kyawa mangu gorge ora. Kyawa chigli namsa yungu marwa. Kyawa mangu gorge ina ko lada mi koba kyawa chima tendwe koba toge de tanda chukuye ke shishu diredo. Undi indu ko shanla tsawa pang sedile tsawa pang pembatu. Kyawa ngama namso sa shabe. Mikiwa so chebala soba kyawa tikba tseme basayore. Tezuganga mandire samje shakbache de keshimburedo. O tijena ko ngarje tikbal shakbache sendi tikba masane ne ko kyawashima lada miliki hungura.
So the goals of liberation and omniscience take lifetimes, and this is the reason why we have to then focus on the goal of having a fortunate rebirth. And this once we have this, so then we have to focus on not harming and doing whatever we can to be helpful, and then in this lifetime then we set the causes for bringing about this fortunate rebirth.
Teacher, huh? Would it go? Thank you. They call give chungu in Andra, give drink in Andra, give chumbo in a carina. Give a chumba pange, tenjo miludi pange togwe the ganga kashambura. Ganget and alco yora. Give chungu in a chima lada milko to be shit sangura. Give drink in a cotarba to be shit, kiwana kyo cutie, tenjo milli to be shit sangura. Give chumbo in a co sanji copan to shadow. And then Kiwashima Lada Mikoba don't near Guyora.
So then everything sort of proceeds from this achieving of a fortunate rebirth. Then we'll be able to make effort to. It's not we're not saying that liberation and omniscience are not an important goal for us, but everything proceeds from that. Attainment of a fortunate rebirth. So then, once we have that fortunate rebirth, we can make effort to attaining liberation and also attaining omniscience.
Given doing that, Shambutu Quarry in a John to Tongi, Tarba Druga Talia, Nega Kumili, Koyawa, which is Togoyora. Or Chanju Sambahina, Koyawa, Tujadikama, Tamjashimba Tuyeda, subject to Tamjashimba Kovan, Tanju Mili, Panja Togoyora. Teach about Doa. Oh, yeah.
So if we have this human life of leisure and opportunity, then if we have a fortunate rebirth, then if we have a fortunate rebirth, and then we have a succession. What we need is a succession of those fortunate rebirths, because then once we have the fortunate rebirth, then we can see the faults of cyclic existence and strive for the causes of liberation, and then add to that the practices that bring about the attainment of omniscience.
Oh yeah, oh they do kasore. No, that and they did and Dalian Tarbato and Dalia, Medicalsura, calling in Juki and Dala, Medabada, Dungawada, and Missa also some time, Sendilla. And the coils are upon a shadow, Dame, some time. And the calling eventually Ranchi Bumay, Simje, Pamaju, Simje Tamjeja, call it Tarbachegu, some Sanjay Covan Tendonia. 어때서 로창고요라 근데 로창네 다된다 다다 집에 심지어 탐지 고에 동을 때와 저에도 산제지 고파 토버샤 대체도 추니 전에 삼로 당신받체네 냠술랑게 삼네 꼴로 세담네 생고리스
So then it's through understanding impermanence and suffering and uncleanness that we develop the determination to be free of cyclic existence, and then the understanding selflessness then brings about those causes that help us to be free of cyclic existence, to be liberated from cyclic existence, and then we have the make the aspiration to attain omniscience, highest enlightenment for this welfare of all beings. So then, in order to so then we should motivate ourselves here that in order to understand this and to put this into so in order to practice this and to come to an understanding of this, I will listen to these teachings here today for the sake of others.
This one. Oh, 당은 이 말에 니슈 숨데 쇼로카 님바 님바요
니슈 잡숨베는 라데 닥터
다데르다 나바 데레도 아이다마 나바 르데 케바르체 레네베 교센식도 교센네세 This one. 오이베
데 나바르베 나서 다 don't
뭐야
다
Slowly.
This way. Oh
yeah.
So we've arrived at verse number 123, and it's the fifth of this topic of why they can why the bodhisattvas can complete their deeds, and that it says why the bodhisattvas can take special physical forms.
Oh yeah. Ta tenda be semke ba tangbo to ba ne chanju sembe le pejer wangjoare gyurwala gyuji yechena tendam semge sa tangbo ya top sa suna pagbe kansan gyursona ane chanju semba ge semje ge tenju ba ge le peje wala pe kora wang to ba na she wang gyur to ba na she o tenden gyure ge gyukari yore sigdo ane ti gyundi yore so o de ma shegdo
So there's a question of why do they have mastery of most bodhisattva activities from the time they generate the first ultimate altruistic intention. So it's talking about the ultimate bodhisattva. Why is it then? What are the causes that bring about their mastery of most bodhisattva activities?
No, dichiglamne yoda. Tondam semje sigdoa, kasnga zuman bula himbaida.
No.
Tondam be semje se de ko tongban yingu sumdu tokbe ishi delia, tondam semje sigdoa. De karile megyorse kunzub semje dege sanje ge sugula megyora.
Well,
Chanju semdege. Semje tamje tondo be kamda sambana she chöten tumgenge sanje ge kulen juna sam ti tomde chigyora. Shente tumgenge kasade. Sugu sigra de sugute. Sugula megiora. Tondam semjete sanjege ene tondam be kutel megiora. Tondam be kusin kasirasne chugu lungu chugu kushiora. Chugu kasire chugu lungu chugu sheyora. Chugu tele ishi chugu da ngoni gusiora. Ngoni gutele ya lubur namdaji ngoni guta rangshin namda ngoni gusnishara. Lubur namdasne lubur jinyamu dan shejetriba takbe tawadela lubur namda ngoni gusigora. Shesa. Oh. Rangshin namdasu duza namba tamje kimbe ishige semgi chunyi del sigora. Tima takbe semgi chunyi delia. 어디래 ngoni 구스고 랑신 남다 샤요 ngoni 구 산제 구스고라 나 동반이 무슨도 외시되게 랑신 남다가 차르게 배터 담배 ngoni 구들 미기와라 동반이 무슨도 또도 남제다 관계 저 탐제 동반이 무슨도 또로 자고 드마다베 셈지 춘이 남제기 셈지 춘이 된 무슨도 또요라 자 담배 꿀 미기도 하셔 담담 셈지에세 대대전에 되어라. 디지털네 오래. 산제 꾸질 미기도 하던다. 어요.
Again, I just wanted to add to yesterday's discussion about the ultimate mind generation and the conventional mind generation. Here, in this context, we can say ultimate bodhicitta and conventional bodhicitta. Just you have to remember that when we talk about what is it exactly that what is the focus, or the what is each one of these focused on attaining, then the conventional bodhicitta is focused on attaining a Buddha's form body. Okay, a Buddha has many different embodiments. So on the embodiment of the Buddha's form is the focus of the conventional bodhicitta. The ultimate bodhicitta then is different. It's focused on the truth body, but the truth body is broken down into the nature truth body. The niku dang arrangement
Rangshin namdagi charjube ngonigo.
Yeah.
Lubur namdagi charjube ngonigo.
Oh, de.
Lubur jitme temni pangbe pangbatel sem time takba taksedel sigara. Ane rangune trube sem takbatelya. Taksani yora. Sem nyomo da sheje trube lubru etme takbe taksa. Gokten sigdwa. Telya lubur namda. Lubur jitme nambar takbe kusigara. Lubur namdagi charjube ngonigo. Rangshin ze rangune truba, sem rangune truba, takbe taksa, sem rangune ma truba. Tela rangshin namdagi chajwe ngoni kusigara.
So then you have amongst the nature body then has these two divisions into the what do you say? Lobradu means like adventitious, perhaps, nature body, and the Lobradu and the Rangshin means the nature of the nature of the nature body, but
Rangshin nature tongbanye, namgenji tongbanye. So
that means the one is where you're eliminating all the defilements, the emptiness that eliminates all the defilements means the obscurations, the cognitive and afflictive obscurations. That kind of that's the adventitious nature body. But then the Rangshin the what naturally pure maybe is a better naturally pure nature body, something. Then what that is the lack of
Sem nyomoda shije tribe tabarwa pangbarwa sem sanje tu de tribe nyeji tagbe chadela lubur namda sigdwa lubur namda ki kusigdwa de swa ta sanje tu rangune tribe tongba chora sanje tu rangune tribe tongba chora di sanje tu ki sem ki chunirwa o dele sanje kusigyora rangshin namda ki kusigyora rangshin namda ki ngoni kus Only you could tell any or Shinam data, Lur Namdasni. Dilam
Yeah, maybe this is a better way of putting it. If you talk about the Buddha's mind, okay, then the Buddha's mind has, then we're talking about the nature body. And when the just maybe the factor of the body, of the mind being free of these obscurations is called this adventitious nature body. Then the factor of the mind where the mind is empty of existing from its own side, then that's this what are you saying? Naturally, what did I say? Naturally pure and nature body. Well. So the ultimate bodhicitta is focused on that. Ranshin namdakla mikne de
Ranshin namdak kula migiora.
So that the ultimate bodhicitta is focused on that naturally pure, okay, nature body.
Kunzu samje dega sanje sukula migiora. Tondam samje dega sanje Ranshin namdaki kudel migiora.
So we've got it that everybody understands that the conventional bodhicitta is focused on the Buddha's form body. The ultimate bodhicitta is then focused on this naturally pure nature body.
Yeah. But
both of them are focused on the Buddha's. What do you say? Body, you can say, on the Buddha, on the Buddha's. Nika Sangeki.
Kula Megiora. Suku Siduza, Sobu Janja Marwa, Sobu Yungengi, Kansa de la Subu Sigora. Sobu and Dembe Kansa, Migitoya, Yevishaya, Tela Sugu Sigora, Penastum Bashaja to Jagal Pedu, Tikon Sugura. Sanjachum Den de Sugura. Sukusu de Cheche, Mili, Toya, Yevishanichu, Sung, Chawachi Yorwa. Sako Shantin to reality Kogiora. Sugula Megiora. I can say you did Kansa chicken in some gura. So man, Tungimarwa. The Ishichugudangon, you so Yomarwa, Toya Yomarwa, the Congress Toya Yubital Suku Sigua, Kansa del Sigora. So what Mara.
So when we talk about being focused on the body of the Buddha, it really means that being focused on the person of the Buddha, because you understand Buddha through this appearance of the form. So when we talk about form, we're really talking about the person of the Buddha. So you're focused on becoming a person who is a Buddha, right?
Suji Kudandembe, Sobo Yungen, Kusu Yungengi, Sanjetela Sukusigdota.
Young person,
Kusu, Suji Pumbu Yungengi. Sanjetelia, Kansa de la Subusigara.
The person who has this, what do you say? Who has this form body, right? That's what you're focused on.
Yeah, that is. Kala Kunze Semone Rata, Kala Kunze Semone Side, Soto Satobe Chanju Semba Kala Sigora, Tukunji says. And then Shandu drove assembly at any one to go race gora. And then Jawa Yurbas, Sibat Jawa Lembe, Shandu drove at any one to be Sibat Jawa Lemba your race gora. Oh, Tioba Yena, to say cheese, Teko, Kuchi, Jigdane, Quingada, you may say. To say cheese, Simjanji to Ella Wang Jove, and Jigdan Quingada to Kuro Mahindi, Kurki race gora. The kind of joggers, Ling Shilo Wangenge, and a Jabula so what in this journey, Shandun Zetugu or Shandun Lapsham Zetugu or Resgora. Oh, didn't Drebata Niganyam Dosha Shandigira.
So if we read this next verse together with the commentary, why should anyone who takes birth through constant control of the mind not become a ruler of the entire world? So bodhisattvas who have attained the grounds can attain the grounds means from the levels or the grounds there's 10 levels or grounds. So who have attained the grounds can, through their constant mental control, take rebirth in worldly existence as they wish. Why then would they not become rulers of the entire world with dominion over the welfare of sentient beings? By taking birth, and then the answer to that question would be that by taking rebirth as, or taking birth as lords of the 4 continents and so forth, they accomplish the well-being of others. It's just that then they could work well for the welfare of others. Well,
oh yeah, that's some jengit, and the baba never learned got some jengit. Oh, you somebody should do to get rest, a pet is a good one. You sing you know, good on a passam dishing la soba. Oh, Tesulatine, so atamna, Sandy, as a good name la soba, Jora Nashi, and it give it to get rest, so good one.
So then the example here is that they, in that case, then they would be like wish-granting jewels, or a wish-fulfilling tree, or a fine pot of treasure, I think is another wish-granting jewel, that just everything could come according to their wish.
Oh yeah. Kanganzo diri da karsure. Sumba diri dwa. Sumba debu kunji, debu karsure, debu kunji ji trupchinis. Ta sumba o jenju sembe cheba tezulo lomne. Ani debu kunji di top gurese. Top guyebe trupchi di shegdwa. Oh. Jenju sembe cheba chebe debu chita bushena. Sanje chumdende pe mengawe tui kyabar samje me kyaba namsos. Debu karesne sanje chumdende dabu. Ani pe mengawe tui kyaba shendu chubala ani tu kyabar samje me kyaba yebe sanje chumdende dabu suku dabu de chubala loben debu res kunji yong to res gdwa. O tela meba chinji lodo shugba ata tiji labda al damba. Tibo do labda.
So here we have, we're on part 3 of the 4 parts of the whole chapter, and that's proof of resultant omniscience. So this, the question here is, what is the result of doing the bodhisattva deeds? So the answer is the inconceivable features of a peerless, supra-mundane Buddha's power.
Oh yeah, this one. That delia shandage, chiri choba bala soba tezuge kakba chigiorwa. Sangjene tinde chang the sangjene shisha kun kengen jurki yo mare kunji yo mare sigiora. Kande desena. Tela meba chinji lodu shubha o kunji sede yo mare chotamje shengeje yo mare se. Chinji lodu shubha choba ba chiri choba bala soba tezu nares. Ozu labgi yore sigora. Tishin shikba kune kunji mayinde, tishin shikba choche kunji mayinde, kibu imbe chiri, kansa ime imbe chiri sigiora. Mile kunji chi yonya yo mare, tishin shikba de kunji mare, mire wa sigiora. Pena lam sosu mishin, pena lamgan ro tenge towa, ro tenge mitusu de chikba res, ngazu de chikba res sigiora. She maos tinde labgu doos chera. Ane? Tichi labda.
Sikje de loga de
Sikje dan de yongjura wol yongjura.
Okay, so the way the Tibetans arrange is that the verse doesn't come right at the beginning like this. So we'll just go right to the this discussion here in the commentary where it says the Mamamsakas and others. And these are non-Buddhist tenets in India, non-Buddhist philosophical systems in India, who lack conviction with regard to this. They don't feel that anybody can become omniscient. Say that Tathagata is not omniscient because of being a person. That's the reason. He's a person. He can't be omniscient. And then the example is for them would be like, well, it's just like anybody. He's like any common man on the road. Well,
oh yeah. Kibu imbe chirsara da konzo mireba sigora. Ande Geshe shek do sigora. Kibu ngam kibu paru kunji mai de ngama yese. Geshe shek do chi ha ma go koton da chi tumne chi Geshe shek yore sigora. Sa ngama yirsara. Kibu mai sanjem kunji mai de ngama yirsara tinde lap gora.
Just he's a person. He just talks like you and I. He doesn't know. You know, he has to sort of ask directions, and you know, just like that. You know, something like that.
Yeah,
if you're omniscient, then why would you have to say anything? You know when.
Oh yeah. Ta lam so so kibushin ta telepa kakwa chigora. Oh dene mere dese kyeje ta de sushi da trubje choni chigam tade tambutana kera dishin shikba se de da kunjin se de chigre da tade rest de keche chigora ta. Chigina chig dishin shikba choche kunjin mai dese ta de sushi kaga ko re chigina dig mare sigora. Oh dene pe kaga yena ताद पालाने से बेखागा ये ना या दिमारे से ते काबा चिकदो शिजु से मेरों दे चिक इन बेचरे पुंबा रानी रंग केजु से मिथे बशिनोस पुंबा दे पुंबे केजु मारवा से पुंबा पुंबा इन दे से यो मारवा से गरा
So then they're taking this reason. The Mamamsikas have set out a reason that the Tathagata is not omniscient because of being a person. So then of the subject and the predicate to which your reason is applied, one or different. Okay, so it's saying is the Tathagata and the omniscience. Okay, that's the subject is the Tathagata, the predicate is omniscience. Okay, are those two things? To which your reason is applied, one or different? Are they the same or different? Is another way of saying that. In the first case, if they were the same, the Tathagata is unsuitable as a subject because the subject and the predicate are one. Just as a pot cannot be its own attribute.
Oh yeah, tako de chidage ngazo uma kapsune kansa shoje tembar mede tembar tube chik da tembar tube thade kando yo mar sigdo kansa de rangune yo mar rangune yo na pumbu da yana chik du yo gore yana thade yo gore chige mar thade mar stugdo o di na sheje rangune tube chik ina rangune tube chik ina pe chik ra yin goro rangune tube thade ina rangando tube so 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 jawa menge chku yora pen jawa menge te pen so so da kansa da pumbu ni di chik rebes na chik rene ne so bo da sem da kanga kansa ren du yora thade yin se na thade ra ba chi da da thade res na rangune tube thade ina rawa ve thade yin gura rawa ve thade ni chik chil to ko marwa te me go na ni pumbu da kansa ni din jawa me ba ren du re me ta pa la na shi ngom se ba na shi re go yora di din na shi ja ka ba chi yora san ti shin shik ba te kunji mai de se chana kunji mai ba da tuje ta de kunji mai ba da ti shin shik ba ni chik yin se na de de marwas thade ina rawa ve thade tu tu ba re te na jawa me ba re se din de ka ba chi do
so the predicate so here basically what the argument is being used is the same as the argument being used against inherent existence or just use this translation that I prefer as the argument against things existing or the person existing from its own side. So here you have the subject, the Tathagata, and the predicate being not omniscient, or lack of omniscience, we could say. So then, if they're going to be the same, then for something that exists from its own side, okay, to be the same means that it's completely identical. They're either identical. Another way of thinking about this is they're either identical or diverse. So in this case, saying they're one means that they're identical. So then you can't say it would be then you couldn't distinguish between the Tathagata and his attribute of being not omniscient. They would just be totally the same, just like a pot can, but that would be ridiculous. So it's unsuitable, because then a pot cannot be its own attribute. It's just like that. So the Tathagata can't be its own attribute, which would be not omniscient, or what would you say, unomniscient. So then here also, and then if you're talking about things existing from their own side, then as being different, okay, either same or different, identical or diverse, then it would also be unsuitable, because they couldn't have any kind of the subject and the predicate are different, and couldn't have any kind of relation. What do you say? There wouldn't be any kind of connection or connection between them at all. Just like in other words, they would be like categorically different, like a pot and a woolen cloth.
This one. You got a question. Ba Shaya Rigi Gitrashu said to Wahode. Shaya Rigi Gitrashu Jidwa. Oh, Tagbata Majebata Ranjunda, Chama Maida Kolpaka Bachayora. Keran the Shinshik Bachoja Quindi Maindi, me in Besher, Lamgal Droge Missionos Lavra. O Tapalam and Kera Rigi Gitrashu, Tagbata Majebata Ranjun. Chama Mainde, Trying Becher, Nyembe Trashin no Sierra. O Rigi said, Chirubaga, Chama Kelling, Rigi, she says, Yora. O did that they go Rangshingi, suit Samba Maresgora, Rangshingi Kuchuma Resgora, Kibucheva Yomare, Kibu some Betsina, Sikanga, non do yon cigarettes, Gora. O Rigi said, Ranjungi cigarette, Depchi or Conchambuyora. Dina Shabakanga, Demba Rese, Kisigora. Chiribality, that is Lamna, I would get it. The Samanam Denal, say, or Rigi Samatanes. Chiriba Kerazo, Rigi, Depsi, or did the Peshavakanga, Samaye, Segura, or did Kupakis Resgora, Rigi Samatane. Geshe Mas and Chikdan did some time the Chibabu, Chiki Songechi or a Digi Chaveresana. Dear Kubakis Resera, Rigi Samatan Geshima. Truly, Shundu than the Chu Kangal tree, Jab Sobol Kale Mangutana, and then Dibadan Tara Togre said, Dear Dene Kubakis Resgora, Rigi Samatan Geshima, truly Shundu. Tree Jamani Church at the Batadu, so which you Kangal Chachu set in the Sigdo, Chachu and the Kalekan, the Mepa and the Mepa Nima Sichu, Sobumuna Mabusho, and the Batadu, they say. Kale Mabujamani, the Batadu, Sarah. Rigi Samatan and Gazima, truly Shundu, the Remetics, on Azu Rig Tombo in Tramsi River. Teneniba de Kiabu, Tenetir, Tezo Rigma, Kayanga, so that you go, the Lagwachan, you are Rig Dujar Sigora. This she's Sigora Conce. Or did Rigi Samatan and Gazima, Trilla Shundu and the Rimetic. The question is Tom Shiba. The Badagris, a Kalekam, Dungal Chompet, shed, Lumbo Shirab Savatanga, Milumbo. Shirab Chelwe Tare, Sierra. Oh, this way, Kera Rigi Samas, Shibajin Suda, Rigi Shibde Sama Mare, Takwa Mare, Ranju Mare, Kare Numbe Sectionos, Petal Numbe Sectionos, Laura. Tagasaja Kunji minded me, Bessalamgan Runga Missions Laura, or Dicas Sigara. Shaya Rigi Trasha, Takwata, Majabata, Ranju Sigara, Rigi Trade Takwa in Sigare, Judingi Majaverse, Ranju Res, Miss with Samba Mare Sigora. Sama Resgora, Tangazu Sama Maide, Drying Besher, Numbe Trashin Nose. What did you love that?
So in Dharmakirti, in his Paramavartika, the Compendium of Valid Cognition, rejects some of the non-Buddhist ideas as being, basically as being ridiculous. I mean, we could, literally it's kind of like, these are the views of somebody who's really foolish or stupid, something like that, but we could just say as being ridiculous. And so then, what are those ideas? There's one of them is that the sound of anything said in the Vedas is totally valid. Okay, it's a totally valid statement. So the assertion of the followers of the four texts of the Vedas is that they weren't created by human beings. Otherwise, if they're created by human beings, there'd be some kind of fault in there, so that they just appeared, and they're totally faultless. They're valid. Okay, so that's one ridiculous thing, and the other ridiculous thing is that everything was created by some kind of divine creator. The third ridiculous thing is that you can just by getting in the river and splashing water on yourself, you clear away sins and defilements. That's also a ridiculous thing. And then the fourth ridiculous assertion is that the Brahmin caste is pure, and all the other castes are somehow, and there's other castes that are impure, and they can't be touched by the impure caste. This is like another ridiculous thing. So, so here then, if we go to the second paragraph there on page 147, that this discussion of the sound of the Vedas is just what the commentator is doing, is coming back at the Mimamsakas and others who are making this one absurd statement, what do you say, this one logical statement that's absurd. And so then they're coming back again with their own, what do you say, counter statement, where they say the subject, the sound of the Vedas is not permanent, non-produced, self-created, is not permanent. So they're rejecting the idea that it's permanent. It's not. Is non-produced, is self-created or valid because of being sound, like a madman's utterances. And so it's basically saying you're subject to saying something like that, okay? And if you say like that, then you're subject to saying like this. Well,
기분은 싫어서 냐생게 루생게 마부지그와 오 데데 찍바를 락바 요베 찍바를 다 제자 계란이 찍바를 저 잠시리 말했어요라 락바 두가세 버저 냐세베 기부신노서 거래 셰메데 바토만 주로세 데 텐데세나네 계란 미 임베샤네 강가 찍바 인고나 아군지 마임바데 임바다네 계란 잠시 마임바레 두그레세네 다 강가데 냠베타나시 찍바레 타임바 찍바레 왔는데 껴치고도 오 데나 규이 제발에 어디바도 랍다 텐데서.
So if you're saying, basically what it's saying is that if you're going to say that, because of being a human being, then all human beings are the same, then we'll say like this, okay? And you have to have this. You would have to say that also that you are not Brahmins because of having hands like a fisherman. If everybody's, all humans are the same. So then there would be many such unwanted entailments for you, that you would be subject to many different, ridiculous things like this.
Oh yeah. Tena Gyu Kebar Rebu Kebar Pudu Chua Mikba Shindu Kunjin Yangebar Kelan New Dese. Chita Gyu Pusum Sobala Tene, Yatileti Yar Yoresguara. Gyu Pusum Sobala Tene, Gyu Kebala Tene, Rebu Pudu Chua Mikba Shindose. And Yonde Kibu Yonde Chane, Yonde Kashel Hagbata, Tele Hagbata, Tarchim, but Yungi or Esgora. Kunji Yangebar Kelambar New Dese. Kelan Kugres, take you say one shake.
So now the commentator is establishing the reasons for omniscience and saying, therefore, just as the excellent features of an effect are seen to arise through special features of its causes, the existence of omniscience too can certainly be accepted. We'd see plenty of instances where there's an excellent effect that arises through special features of its causes.
Oh yeah, that is somewhat lapida. Pinto Lache, Pinto, and Gashi Jigdan, Deria Nangera, and Jigdangi Chala, Ngobotosula, Chilechi Yaga, Yakshut and the Yungi Duasgora, Puduchuan and Draw, Leche Puduchuan Draw, Gashin Jigdan Dina Yoresgora. Tungutuasgora. Then Sami kept young Yabari Togbar Jetena, Yondan Chan, top the Shirab Nili Chang Chan, the Paruchim Batulas or Chan, Tarchimbe, Samjim Mekeva, Arazu Louis Debe, Yondan Chet in the Yobatia, and Yobade she took the Esgora, Togbar Kisgora.
Well, so if we look at the verse, then it says, even in this world, among excellent things, some are seen to be most excellent. Thus, realize that certainly also inconceivable power exists. And so it's asserting that if we make effort to excellent causes, then there will be excellent results.
Oh yeah, don't develop you that. Kebardo Pashe, Pudun Droale Che, Pudu de Kebardo Pagbar, Droangashi, Jigden Deria Nang Des and Jigdanging Obalaya, Kebardo Pagba, Kebardo Pagba Yaga shooting the Yongi or Residua. Then a Rigi Pudu Chuan Sidua. Jagazi, Yordan Jagaz and the Rig Sini, Kerry, Tamsiris, Dolveri said out in the Zigidua. The rig and the Yakshu de Tamsiri Sigituas can Tiri Nation Guras. Kenegi Puduchua Sissi. Takoe Kevin and Yakshu de Sisirva, Sicily Sangaji Yomar, Tital Yomarwa. And a repuduchua Rirevda. Kabe Puduchua Koluki Kavus and a Ling Shiba Kangala. One game, my Yamaguba Kora, 1 to 2 Tunge Kabo. Oh, Koluki Kabo. Tomatena, Janju Sembanam Jakeba, Tramisum do Sosak Betule. Shebe Puduchua, Tishinshik Banam, the two some Gimikaba, Nebaria to talk about Kishes, or Dinashi, and Chanju Sambanam, Jakeba Mangolia, Sonam de Shigi Sol Sane, top the shit of Nili Changne, and talk about Tulatene, Puduchua, then Tishinshik Bam, top Tarshin, shit of Tarshimbe, some Gimikaba, the two and then Besanga and Nebaria, talk about Geshe, or Dibach.
So if we go back to the commentary in that third paragraph, it starts with the sentence that begins, among exceptional and excellent things, some which are particularly excellent are seen even in this world. And so then the commentator is going to mention what things are seen as being exceptional. The Brahmin caste is seen as being to be the most excellent caste. The peak of existence, the most excellent state of rebirth. Mount Meru, the most excellent mountain. And a universal monarch, the most excellent of kings. The universal monarch means somebody who gains power over the 4 continents without any having to go to war. So thus you should realize that superlative awareness, the inconceivable power of Tathagatas definitely exists because of the stores of merit accumulated by bodhisattvas over 3 countless aeons. So if through accumulating both merit and wisdom over such a very long time and bringing both of them to perfection, then such a thing as the inconceivable power of the Buddhas comes into existence.
Oh yeah. Then the kunji yobar trupchi longla metembe rigbe truban de ya kelang barcha osigwa. Oh then ko kunji said yes longza mare rigbal ten trup to grete and then kunji yoba kelang ko de songwa.
So, moreover, you should accept this proof of omniscience established by reasoning without depending on scriptural citations.
Then Sanje Jisugu Sanje member Debane, Cheba Belu Yimbe, Chimeta Washington Dorcho, Sanje Jisugu de Sanje Mares, Sanje de Chugu de Nagish, Kimba de Remato, Sugu de Sanje Mares, and the Kelengiora, or then the Mare Sugu de. Sanje Res, Sanje member Devane Cheba, Chiru Cheba Luimbe, Chimeta Washington Torchaos.
And so there's another thing to be thrown out like a gob of spittle here, and that is the assertion that the Buddha's body is not the Buddha. The Mamamsakas have this contention that it's just the Buddha's mind that is the Buddha. The Buddha's body is not the Buddha. That's ridiculous. How could the body not be the Buddha as well? So then that should be thrown out like a gob of spittle.
Oh, that and that the kunji to ye chanju semkia yoba, tongbani toya yoba, tembashi kone koa da tarba toya yoba. And then Sanje Kunji Yoba did some Namdricos Mamutu Gudwa. Unibeca Sukanga to Gudwa, or Rebecca Netugiora. Then by she would Rebecca Netumitaba, Tungawa, Tontament, and Dalure. Oh, there's a Toba Sanjum, then the cemetery with him, but Namdricapso, Unibeca repeat to Giora.
So if you want to further proof regarding the Buddha being an omniscient being, then you look in chapter 2 of the Pramanavartika, the compendium of valid cognition by Dharmakirti, where he uses many different reasons, like the Four Noble Truths and Dinanla de Dembashi, then Dharmandra.
Oh, the Shimeda Struche and it top the shirap, Ningji Shimboda, Dongbanya Dogba Shirap, the Combalatan and the Apelne, Sanjay.
Then also the attainment of Buddhahood through collecting amassing the collections of both wisdom, sublime wisdom and merit.
When that Ningji Shambuke, you are Ningji Chunju. Oh, there's a Ganga de Simjel Pa Kabuja, Simja Tamjel Pa Mini Kungina, Pelia Yorese. Perugil Simja Imbasam Gitunga the Tana, the other Tana, some Jurgi Yorese. Tandangazo Cometa Chunjun Sigora. And the Yana Yandu Kungina. And the Koya Pel and the Simja Kangal, maybe Ningji Shambujure Yorese.
And then the possibility. I guess we have to say the potential for when we have a feeling of compassion, when we that out of this feeling of compassion, it's if we expand on that feeling of compassion, then we can have this. Unbiased compassion or great compassion that comes out of that initial quality of compassion that we have. So then you can establish great compassion. You can establish the wisdom, the wisdom that knows emptiness and so forth out of that.
Then it tapped the Shiram Yaga de Kungina, Ko Shirab Sheru, Zawaji Sheru Rayuba. Some Yerang Shilko, Shuba Maria, Paya Yores, or Sajandung Eva Mares, Garazin, the Madrigeneco, Chuji Luna ko Kazin do Telelabon Dry Yamara. Chukazin do in a poverty, Chukazil Telelaba Kiloma Dry Yamara. Narazi Combe, top and shit of each other Kumgina. Session to give a maris. By Yaria Kaze Combachatina, she Yaria do this. I think that you want to kill my Tuesday come to do any touching your race. Kangatani, you and the township, you can do this.
So, these qualities of wisdom and compassion are not, they don't have some kind of measure to them. Just like, filling a cup with water, it has a certain measure. If you pour too much water, it's just going to go over the edge. That's not what these two, wisdom and compassion, have. That the more they're, you can cultivate them through successions of lifetimes, and at the end of that, through that process, then one can bring each of them, wisdom and compassion, to perfection.
Oh yeah, tape derida. Penna drumarge bomba kya nyawar chorwa kejonge ken shinde debata rosestwa. Ode dire kelonje ko doje ne tongba chobo chisale nesa yaje. Dedwa. Dedu zane tongba de sheda ke mede kora kangba de sobol chuye ke num da konje bomba rishkan ne se luje dedwa kora dedwa. Ente ko kangba chuye de Japan to buchonda. Tene ko de longba de yebe bomba da chechiga hako ja de gelon lepsha ni gelon de tu ke Geshe o ta kiran kare shepchi shu de nga roba chigi yese labdwa. Ene nga neza de ko nga yabu cheso num tinde bomba Gachitero chase dwa. I couldn't a column mambo, taking chick to derwa, than the jar party dwa. Just a coach chick dig a coach jares or taking chick party at the pull to show jares or I certainly read to us or a petita.
So this is, and the example here is learned monk put up in a poor man's house. The poor man provided bedding and oil to massage his feet. He gave him like a small vessel of oil, and it was very, very pleasant for the monk to massage his feet with this oil. So then, hearing of the monk's presence, an administrator of the district visited him and respectfully asked if there was anything he could do. The monk told him, "Give the man in whose house he had spent the night 100 jars of oil." So this is the idea of increase, right? He gave this one jar of oil, and then the monk provided for him 100 jars of oil.
Oh yeah, teacher. Yeah, that shiba. Lo me tikjin la trak be chuse ta lo me ba to ne tekba chembula menjuba trak be chuse ni shek do shiba de do. Yang chi chere simje pejere tekba chembula traje sanje tobe chedo kuibar meche chena neba memba sonza ti resti o di shek do. Me ma bu che ne sanje ko ba tobe de tende ane sanje chanju semda tongba ni de tende kombia ka bu che ma do ati karesena. Member songs at
so, guy remember Lobjong? Lobjong member? Low member?
Simjen teaching la drug by using the cheese, Simjen Peba teaching la Tuba symbol of charge, Sanje Tobe, Cuba Mechena, Meba membership. Meba member said,
oh, member.
Oh, the Lord Jones said, Lord member, Lord member.
So then, why are most people afraid? Oh, sorry. The outline here is reaching the fourth section, and we're on the final verse. And it says, showing why those with poor intelligence fear the great vehicle. So the idea is here of poor intelligence, and in the translation it says it a little bit differently, but why are most people afraid of the great vehicle and uninterested in attaining Buddhahood? That means that how could I possibly develop the spirit of enlightenment and the wisdom that knows emptiness? They just feel that they can't do like that, and the only reason is because of their weak conviction, it says here, and then I think maybe we could understand that as weak intelligence, or weak intelligence probably. Well, or poor intelligence, like she translated that.
That's our logo. Lula Shindu Sabchula, Milumbola Shindu Sabechu, Dongbanila Sobatindetana, Takbachiora, Takbachiva, Tishin Shanla Shindu, ne Menjuchu, Tishin Shanlia, ne Takbashan Bala Soba, Takbashin Bichu to Shana, and then Meduchu, Takbashin Bichu, and Jumu to Takbachiora, Esora. Oh, the Jabadinium Doloshana. Good way.
So the verse says, just as the ignorant feel afraid of the extremely profound teaching, so the weak feel afraid of the marvelous teaching. So here those who are weak in intelligence then or poor in intelligence would feel afraid of the idea of for instance, exchanging an attitude of cherishing oneself for an attitude of cherishing others.
Oh yeah. Tandin jabadi log yuda chikbar chire yinda. Oh yeah. Dedar lo machang be lumbu la sigdwa. Shindu sabe chu tende rangshi meba tenji reba chu tongbani desgora. Rangshi ge maje ba chaji tamje teba la chakba ke wa rangshi ge mena chaji teg mare sam ko chakba ke yora. Chaji tamje teba la chakba ke wa chidawa deshindo meba deshindo se meba shemba la meba shemba sigora. Takba chimbe chu dachimbo to zula meba chungjung de le shemba sigora. Shindu ne Medu Chu Sabata, Gachewa, Tebachimbuda, Sanjay, Tupudu Chuala, Tapachigua, Resgora, Jumi Jube, Josenti, assembly Chutu Yomare, Tapachigua, Resgora.
So, remember, the ignorant whose minds are untrained feel afraid of the very profound teaching of dependent arising, free from inherent production, with the feasibility of all actions and agents. They feel, in other words, they feel when they hear this teaching on emptiness, then what they see is that nothing would work. If everything was empty, then actions and agents couldn't possibly function. So that's where the source of their fear. Then similarly, those whose conviction is weak feel afraid of the marvelous, profound, and extensive teaching of the great vehicle and of the superlative power of the Buddha. So here, the commentators are attributing it to this weak conviction, or we can think of it as intelligence. Well,
oh yeah. Tanding matter. That tension dever jonga. Rangshingi Majiba said, "Do I teach you loves Jenny or matter?" Roa, sure some tender Rangshim was good. Tongbani said, Shigora. Oh, did sure condition innocent and Dura. Penangarazo Kansari in a social in a sure condition in there. Komangboji Tsone, Tsokbachi, Tsokbatil Tenepa, and it learns the Miri, the Kangbari, the Shingri, the Chokzeres, and the Pa Shagudwa. Timadoji ko charab chilin dire se chik janjako munze chi yo marwa so rangwe ne me sigwa rangwe ne me rangle me ba rangshin ki me ba
rangshin ne so
aresne chashe da juda ke mangbu chi ya chu ki yora ke so de koran chashe mangbu chi chebsi yora kansar ne sokbo yora sobu ne za da lung de mangbu yora chala mangbu yora ane sem yore sora yore chashe mangbu chi le tone ane o di mires di chichires va shagdwa ko ta kaderes ne chigle pene chite rangone ne dires ye chilwa zuzu ya korwa de yo marwa de hol resera ho je suzu pene sudine tonsuna de kangba yabudo kangba res laura ta kaderes ne chigle zuzu sa yo marwa dires chigbarera on de shabja resera de zur de mar de kanga domne yora ko de res pa chashe mambo se chigle 파다버에 대삼지 침바셔 그러세요라 대삼지 거의 주저래 다케지 대요 말에 다 강바 가르에서는 난 주주세요 말와 네 강바에서도 가르를 세러 그런 수르지 강바 수르지 통요나 대 통에 어디 강바에서 왔다라 다 가데에서는 뒤치려 주주세요 말아 상가란 좋다디 랑위네 요바 코코랑게 요바르지 이해도 와이나 랑위네 요도 마음에네 다라버지네 코코랑위네 소설 차샤나 nangarang ye samgdo sogboda andene chizune che chilungda nang juan sheboje le toje dene ngaya sembushi te teru pindwa nangarang ye samgdo dingye sogbode ngenge se ngade ngode te bo medu sajira so su shendo yebar samgdo rangwach rangyeto odi yo marwa sa ko tenjin del ba chungare dilbatash de te yo mare sido ne mengere chagdo zuzu se menge chagdo ane ngone samdan du shigi wara jiba chi yora mindu sam o yore tenje tende chodu lega chinge chi yore se choa dewa nyonge dunge nyonge yore se go yora ya modi ji lap chane yabudo
So it's good to say something about what is bringing fear to the ignorant here. It's talking about emptiness and dependent arising and everything. We have this feeling. Well, everything is in fact a collection of many different things. We can talk about whether it's whether it's objects or whether it's a person or it's a self. Everything is a collection of many different things. What goes into being a person? You have all the different parts of your body and all the different parts of the mind. All these things are all together in one aggregation. I think it's good to, instead of a collection, it just everything aggregates together, and then we based on that we say I or person if it's somebody else, and or a house, for instance. We can and that's enough for it to exist. It has that kind of an existence in that way. But we have this kind of feeling that that things aren't all that things are just one partless whole. Okay, and so that then. So then, what that means is that we feel that we can point to it and we can find it. It's something there that we can find and then point out. We could actually put our finger right on it, and that's not so. Everything is an aggregation, and we what do you say? Impute that object to that aggregation. So but then we're not satisfied with that kind of an explanation. So we try to go further into and find that, and we feel that there's something there within the house or within the chair or within the table or whatever that is the chair. So if you go and actually point to something like Gandha was pointing to the arm of the chair, it's you don't get the chair. All you get is the finger meets with the what do you say? with the arm of the chair. You don't. There's nothing that you can. Basically, there's nothing that can be pointed out to that that is the chair. You cannot point to anything that is the house or is the person. And so this feeling that there is something there, or there is something in here, like a person. That's what we're describing with that things exist from their own side. This feeling that things exist from their own side. We feel that, oh, there's something there that is the thing, that is the house, or is the chair, is the person. But from its own side means it could be in here, or it could be out there. So then, when we examine and look for it, we can't find that thing that we feel so sure is there, that our finger could rest on it. Okay, so then does that mean that the house, the chair, the person does not exist at all? No, it doesn't mean that the house, the chair, and the person don't exist at all. They exist as dependent arising, and as they do exist as dependent arisings, then as they do exist, then they can perform functions. Okay, that's feasible for actions and agents to function. Well,
this one, oh yeah. Oh, the imbecera. Tatunda ko tende samlutandu. Tandi metu tandu. Dire says you part chiglia, chasher mahingi chig tone and dire labudwa.
well,
The Mamadoko Naranjutadu, Korangwene Yovers Tungudwa.
well,
The Korangwene Yovachine, the Buddha Balitana Sungudwa. Korangwene Yovachine, Mahingi chasher chiletan and dire sagma, Korangone ingedi. Dire is one imbatil part Zugutu and Digrivasti to Yomarwa.
well,
Or Chesan take one Rangone Yovainako. Chasha pass and the Dingone and Dirishe, Yingendil Zugutu, take a Yomara.
well,
Joshua said, Lakbarito, the Joshua, Sobutos, Labanjo, the Gigi Reser, Lapgira. Takatis against that did Geshe Yomara.
well,
Then it up with some rava.
well,
That in this never is read to do. Condate in the Ranguni even do it, Kanga Mavre to do.
well,
Did that men do somebody named Mandira?
well,
Oh, that your attention, Deverjuana, Sosulu Pata and Legacy and get the Namiri or the Miridan to the Deg to catch a shake to Sikanga Shabura.
well.
No, did love sin.
So Buddha Palita points out that this feeling of things existing from their own side is that we think that if by that the thing exists there somehow findable. Okay, within it's all this aggregation of many different factors that are coming together, and so then if we also feel it actually exists there, and that there's an actual person here, there's an actual house there, and so then to actually exist there means that we should be able to find something there that is the thing itself. Okay, so then when we look for it and try and find what, for instance, Joshua, where is Joshua? We could point to his hand, but that's not Joshua. We couldn't come up with something within my body and mind that is actually Joshua. So when we're searching for something that exists from its own side, okay, we're looking for the thing that exists from its own side, we can't come up with the thing itself. So then the feeling is that the thing doesn't exist at all. Okay, but that's not true at all, because our minds are it exists as a dependent arising because our minds are attributing or designating based upon that aggregation the thing itself. It exists in this as a dependent designation.
No, yeah, that do it.
No. So maybe that's enough to say about.
This one, Ore pena sada lusan kelon namla yi me sheba shino sigdwa. O kunji yobala ko yi chigi yomardon cheza. Sada lusan su kebu chimbarwa. Kebu che sai tabu sigora. Lusan de ko nyeme losu shingna single kasagal ko chamje taga dre yuserdo. O ko mi kobo tinde de shingna single te ridara se che ni tinde kala se te nge kobo tinde yusera. Tende chi tone ne ko rida molia chakbache ba tong re chara o de indesa de kebu de hale ne o ko tende kyo re kale tende tanda ko ane chakbache be kumshi de sha to me do asambare o sha to me do sa ne ko o da nam je tende gelon to so mangbuche pasu yong de ge re to so tende kyo ma re ane be jide kange be me de chi tende zebo yesa kaskal dugyo re konzo sha to gu mare tegba chewade tena ngazo jebe photana le chomo yosalia mangbo yongi kelon zu ta yon chu ji mendu te nyanga re sha sam ko kelon le ma de che re sha mo di ke jere o yi me shewe do o ta yi shi mendu konzo pati te to mare samje ko to ba sa je ne jebe photana le zo chomo zu yosali yon me chose la biora mo di ko re ba ko chida Milia ko keba peme karne ko deba de yora ke yode ko yoza te ka ne nge de mes nimi te je ko komba che samlo ta je ka gi yora de ko yung me na ko pen yung ke yo mara ka ne te pen yung ke yo mara se ko deba de yora de deba ma je che pa ka ne ke karsreta mitu pa komba da te samlo ta ko me abso yora ko de samlo ta ne chi dire samge ji marwa ko chi da mina shin roje o ta jina konzertin de ingire samgiora
so here's in the example is of King Sarupa. I think it was the custom of kings to kind of go on a what would you say, an excursion in the king himself was a householder, but he's going on an excursion in a forest, right? And he saw an ascetic who lived like a deer, and then he was like copulating with a doe, and then he said, oh, monks are like this. So it caused him to lose any kind of faith in monks. Then he thought that if ascetics were who endure suffering, who had not stopped their urge for sexual intercourse, then how could the monks that followed the Buddha, how could they're living in some kind of comfort, so how could they do so? So then he was afraid to let the monks into the women's quarters in his palace, because he thought they'd be copulating with his queen. So then he prevented them from being part of the queen's retinue. In general, it's it would be a good thing to make some kind of a rule that prevented people from doing things that they couldn't control themselves. But here it wasn't the case at all, and so he was making just a rule based on his misconception.
No, yeah. Tan dir me ba se do. Ko ni me le bar samja de yor ba. Ko ni me de tan da kong le sheb na samlu da samsra. Lo de me le tak ba che we shi. Ane sa ba da ja che we tong ba ni da tek ba shin be lam do zulia so so ge. Tony Cheche Tabo Majin Sugar Race or Chanju Chula Tubaning Burchas, Laname Chanju Tobe Tandalia, Nyamli Cheche Kali Kamne Tubachaku Race, Labche Jagdua. Do it Chebo, Niba Louis Saint and Body, Chanju and Benaji Shigabe Namshe, the Barshebe Ningbushi, Chanju Sembe, Chuba Tambati, Rapching Navas or
So then there's a summarizing stanza at the end here, having considered the faults of cyclic existence as well, understanding the faults of cyclic existence, then enter this, like in the previous 4 chapters, enter this profound and extensive great vehicle, of which those with poor intelligence feel afraid, and make bodhisattva deeds your quintessential practice. So then you make effort to practice the deeds of the great vehicle. This is the 5th chapter of the 400. This brings an end to the 5th chapter of the 400. What are we calling now? 400 stanzas on the middle way, showing the bodhisattva deeds.
Oh yeah, Tangazo Rabji Tubadi Redwa. Rabji Tubadi, Nyamopa Taptamba Sigdwa. Take a rest Nechaba, Geshe and Jusen Bechaba Lovalia, and Yamoto take Chiguarity, Yamote Poya Tapshin Direction Pangi Ores, Tishegdwa. Niva Chube cake, Chuba cake, and Yamopo Tapshaba Nisi, Louis Shung Shabada, Louis Santambas Che. Oh, and Louis Shung Shabatelia, Nidua. Louis Serve Katuki, let a Yamopon Aryadeva Kaba, Yamopon Tapshabas Nidua. Oh, did that long with Shagura.
So now we're going on to the 6th chapter. And the 6th chapter is explaining the means to abandon disturbing attitudes and emotions, or the afflictions. We can call it the afflictions. Explaining the means to abandon the afflictions which prevent the deeds. These are the what is the prevents us from practicing the bodhisattva deeds. So and that is divided into 2 parts.
That's one. Oh yeah. When you do a loose serial cut of your leather, Yamopon do a capa asset, Tatambushegua. Yamopon a tapshabas. Don't that Lulia, Calet and any Yamopon Castle, Yamote, she to Sukanga, Mavas, Calet capture, Tindich and any Carsore. And Yamopon Grace, Tindaba Capa Shegdua. And Yamopon a tap the Maris, and Yamopon a tap the rest, a tap Shegdua.
So the first section then, and this is on page 314, where you can see the outline, is refuting the contention that contaminated actions and disturbing attitudes and emotions, or afflictions, are eliminated by tormenting the body with ascetic practices. So this is there's an idea that that you can eliminate any of the afflictions by ascetic practices, and so then this is a refutation of that.
Yeah, Tambu Shegdua, Tambu Lu Serve Katu Gilet and Yomo, Poardova Kagban Esigdua, Lulia Kalet Techeco, oh, Tene Yomo de Pongo Grace, Sigdua, take under resina, and Drovenia to give a Chanju Sembatene, Cuba Quingene, Croyan Las. Chanju Semba Kanga Yonsaki Jude, Croyan Bate, Koala Tenetene, Tunga Yonguyoba, Kanga Yonguyobade, some Giordo. Korayan La, take you let and Yomo Imbe, take you de Yomoshe, Yomogi Sabe, and the Lakiti Niletene, Quakurgi or Samne. And the Tuje let and Yomo, Sarjabala Charos, Tuje Juji, let Yomo to the past Sarchet, and Yomogi Wange, less Ayate. Mevasuiores. Tell it any coin were called them to Yungores. Tishekdua.
So, what's being explained here is abandoning the afflictions, because the afflictions are what give rise to contaminated karma, and then it's contaminated karma that gives rise to our a cyclic existence. So then it, by eliminating these contaminated karma, then we by eliminating the afflictions, then we undercut that whole process. So the first verse says, since the source of all trouble lies in cyclic existence, which is caused by contaminated karma and afflictions, bodhisattvas who act as close friends to transmigrators encourage trainees to put an end to such karma and afflictions.
Oh yeah. Thabkhe de dana sura da tinde ina su shanda labgyora. Chiruba da tesu labgyordo. Oh tinde ina ne rabdu chwa namla khangbatse ba nga jata sa sanje ne rabdu chwa solia khangbatse ba ngabja khangmin damda yonge damda yonge be yabu shibtin de ne kapkabla ten degrees now nangito asgyora. Khangbatse ba nga jata. Shese roja ba nawase ne khala ina ko Pyungeng Pyurene Tajab Kante Yunako, Tesu Chunen Degrees Cheche, Nawan Duasigora, Kase Rojaba Nawa Mirikbani, or Tesun Digman Duasigora, Karesne Tesu Kangal Tene, Tesu Tewajawa da Ches Tumbe, Reti Enako, Teletene, Chapa Pendru Ruaso, or they go to some Yabudu, some Shenja Pendru Ruasigora, or they Indeko, Toman Deja Yeshe, Sugla Sobe, Yubang Bacha, the Desha gave she the you don't want to say that go down there, so that the Pusum so what today. There's no day you there's a Kangapa Pangore. Oh, this and any Yomapan to Roasigua. Toman Desha gave she Sula so be Yunga Pangbarchades, so that the Rexala Sobala, Pusum so what is one long check you are Mare, Pangore, Kaleja Gurisido. Louis Sadangis what a Lulia, Saya that that in the touch with Tung Yang Juni, teaching it. Chakbatje Shimeza, Yomapandude. Tabella Sobas, Lugan, Tatu, Toya, Tatu, Matuviche, Rumbuche Shayat in the Dua. Oh, Tindela Soba, Tungeng Bala, Leda Yomo, Tunge, Tandulane, Tunge to Kitchen, Pusum Sobake, Tavaje, Tindegi, Yule, Long Majeviche. Noa, Tungeng Bala, Leda Yomon Becatu, Tilia. Led and Yomonjan Becatu change yours. Tiendo go Chiribaso Cashe Pulomagumich, Tabichin Droid, and Namgaku, and Sigada. Mikashe Mangatembase. De Mesha, de Mesha, de Mesha, de Mesha. Yenaman 6 years, and when I capture Kambuchagua. Cashe and New Manier, Shington in the stage, Kadin and in the state of Color said to Tisage. Tani pasu nye da tinde shigyo mara shingjin tinde shan diga nende de stage ni kuna diga do tinde shigdo
shing de dun la chik
oh shing de bu sha yo ran diga de ne she do stage do tinde gudo o de so da katup chen res chule kale kyap ne te chule katup chen res gora da nang bo de mare se te so bol do te de mare semne Nyamu Yungore, there's a Kangapa Mavison, teacher would ask you, the go shake do.
So then there's an assertion from the non-Buddhist philosophers. If that is so, it is unreasonable to give the ordained buildings 500 masonry courses high and food of 100 flavors. The idea is here that just a very elaborate buildings with all sorts of rooms and nice places to sleep and food and elaborate food and so forth. Since these are pleasurable, they only increase desire or attachment. Yeah. So from the outset, one should therefore avoid things like visual form that arouse attachment. So his thinking is that if the ordained are staying in these kinds of very comfortable settings, then they'll think, oh, this is a great way to be happy and comfortable, and so that their attachment will increase. So those who undergo overt suffering by mortifying their bodies with heat and cold, letting their hair become matted and so forth, are called ascetics. And ascetics are overcoming their contaminated karma and afflictions. So there are many different kinds of ascetic practices. Ones that there's in India, the people will go completely naked, for instance, and then the other ones are like it's sitting in the middle of a fire. Okay, you're sitting. I think you're naked also, but you're sitting in the middle of a fire with the sun beating down on you, and the fire is like in four different little. It's actually four different fires set around you like that, and this is one way of mortifying their bodies. Another one is letting their hair become matted, or you can also understand this as just simply pulling their hair out. So then these kinds of things, that the assertion is that in this way you will overcome your karma and your afflictions. That this is the way to eliminate your karma and your contaminated karma and afflictions. That the Buddhist assertion is not like that. That the Buddhist assertion is that you don't do like that. You have to eliminate the afflictions within the mind. You have to somehow counteract them within the mind.
Oh yeah, tadi ma shek doa. Jabat lo sarim bangani.
Right.
Oh yeah, that deve doja pejur shinsu doa. Dewa ki chajin jabat se da ko da nemel so pusum so bo na ni shenjadi ya penju ro was ki ora. Tobe choa pejur na se. Tobu shida chuna ni traman de kale shida khane ni khondro penju ko was ki ora. Tobe choa pejur na se. Ni chide kadu chemeshe. Chiruba del pas ki ora. Ni kyusen chi kira kadu chen min shin se. Davala longchenge de kaduchen mare se. Tunge cheji nyangje denge de kaduchen re se karjen sigiwa re se gora. Duba kaduchen chi yin se. Karesne dawa longcheba de doja pe ne teletene tunge yungirwa se. Dube ne tunge cheji nya dubu chunge ne ko toa kondru pe dugre teletene ko tunge yungirwa se. Ade chi de kaduchen yin chi de kaduchen mayin se age jusen kare se gwa.
So the verse 126 comes expresses an answer to this assertion, this non-Buddhist assertion. If desire or attachment increases through pleasure, and anger increases through pain or difficulty, why are those with pleasure not ascetics? Why are the ascetics those with pain? The idea is that when he says why are those with pleasure not ascetics, it means that eventually, pleasure leads to pain. So why are they not called ascetics? And why are the ascetics those with pain? Why is being ascetic necessarily somebody who undergoes a lot of difficulty, pain, and discomfort?
Dan debat logya. Le longe la sobe teve deja pewarin gyurshense. Le longe la soba pusum soba teve chagen tena ane shenja de ya pendu rwa sigora. Dewa gyudan cheba pangu ba yena se te chane kera dewa ge gyudan tezu kanga pangu res lab dewa sigora chiruba sigorno. Le longe la soba teve ane deja pegre te sunda dewa geve gyu ne lu longju la soba tezo yakula longche gyo mare sigora o gyurete tenya pang go nas pang go yo nas sigora chuse chi tewa dan demba kadu che min shin se se cho ba da chuse kar che ne tewa ge chajin le temba de kadu che mare cho gi tunda kawa che gyo mare se ane se cho ba da se kala mangbu ma se che se che ni te da ane lu ni la ge nimada lakba to zo be se ju ne tung yang ju ye tene sirwe kadu chen ji yin se kar je ne de kadu chen re se yora te ne nyomo jomba la kadu chen she cha ye lu ser wala min no se na lo ge sem ge nyomo le nge ba sa ge nyomo de jomba la kadu chen sigre ma do lu le a ka nge te ne te wa yong ye ge ju cha jin kang ge de long ma je tung ye yong chu ne o te jan jan kadu chen sigma re se do
If we look at the commentary, then it says, if pleasure from one's body and possessions increases desire, here the word desire we could understand as craving. So if pleasure from one's body and possessions increases craving, you get more, you want more and more. Then, and pleasure as well as its causes should be avoided. Physical and mental pain, which increase anger, should be avoided too. So, so that's talking about this idea of ascetics being those who undergo a lot of pain and through self-mortification. So, why are those who have pleasure not ascetics? And why are the ascetics those who fast and experience the pain that sun and wind inflict on their bodies? Those who have pleasure are going to experience pain and difficulty too. And then why is it just you're saying that the ascetics who inflict all these different pains and difficulties on their bodies, why are they ascetics? Why are they the only ascetics? Those who overcome contaminated karma and afflictions are called ascetics, not those who torment the body. Who have this inner practice of overcoming the karma and afflictions, through disciplining the mind and what do you say? Abstaining from non-virtuous actions.
Lu choya tunda se ku neme le soba tezo ene pet sangda re ta yebu tende me shidaro be kyo tan lu cho me tum ge tende chi gyo mares ume lam le ne ko do so choa ro ha jang de ne ke tu chidare chun tende mo ga che ne kyo bo che lu cho me do tende me lu cho ding tundal ko ta ta yo ba de ko re song do o de song de ko ya kap kap le ya Kiabuda Tindreki Kinduda Tizuya Peri Kangba Sangbuta and Yeshe Mambu Pue Tindreko, Long Cheku with Hesse, Chendati Ku Punge di Sunam Saya Tundalia. Long Cheban now, Kapkalia. The Yina Kodi Sosuke Shinja make a cheku yara. Casere Sadunga Nabgin Donga Shiva, Casemendan Drawa by Yese, Kala the man as she Yese. The Chada Shetan, the Chiabudu, Yakumedusia, Kondusada, Shinjaki, Mesigara, the Shashidam, the Jakbaki, Jajimala, Mageki, Kembaki, the Tinditan, the Sagmesera, Jajimala, Nimbechima, Sazirmala, Lunemba, she could shoot to be leading the net and Dalia, long check you, some jet long check you. Oh, digits and
so, when they, when the Buddha has his followers staying in relative comfort and so forth, relative to the self-mortification, then these the idea is that through the ideas of a middle way, okay, that there are ways of restricting in Buddhist practices, but they're not to an extreme like these ascetic practices that are being described, so that that by having, you know, sort of this middle way, then one can accumulate karma and accumulate merit, and then once one so then you can accumulate merit, in, for instance, in the way that how we relate to having a meal. Like when before taking a meal, then we say a certain prayer, right? That where we're reminding ourselves that it's just for maintaining the body, not for it's like medicine, right? And you have it in your prayers. I remember from sharing a meal with you, but it's also it's not for it's not to make yourself fat, and you know, to put on weight, not to make yourself look good, or and your body to, you know, be strong and what do you say, to be, I don't know how you have it in your
strength or good looks.
Yeah, that's a good. It's not for those purposes, and then it's mainly for, it's just for maintaining the body, so that you can approach, you know, your necessity, you know, these basic necessities in that way. Should we just leave it here, or pick up there, or pick up in the next? I think we could pick up in the next class here. Yeah.